ill-fated 8-bit handheld that used to bankrupt people if they didn't have enough money for 6 AA batteries. It had a Shinobi game. It had 2, in fact, exclusive ones, with music by Yuzo Koshiro, who did the soundtrack for Streets of Rage. And I'm now going to talk at length, while playing the thing, about how brilliant this game is. So, it starts off, you've got 4 levels. We've got a highway, a valley, a harbour, and a woodland. And although it's got that sort of Mega Man-esque presentation of you can do these in any order, there is an order that you have to take. It won't tell you this, it's just something that I figured out over the years of playing this about 100 times. And we're going to start off with the one that the cursor kind of starts off on when you load up this screen, so it's kind of hinting that you should start there. It's the highway. This is the best introduction to a game on a handheld, probably ever. Right, so there's a lot to take in. We're on the top of a truck. There's a guy clinging to the side of the truck. I'm a ninja. I'm Joe Hisashi, the red Shinobi. And we're on a moving highway. You can see the background scrolling along nicely there. That's some sort of city. We'll be going there shortly. And if you move over this way, the guy climbs up and explodes. We have got suicide bombers on the side of trucks. Because of course we do. And then you go over here, jump, smack that guy, and there's a bomb on a car straight away. Got some danger, jumping across cars, moving very fast down a highway. There's a guy up there with a gun, sugar glider ninjas that are coming down at you. It's all high octane action stuff. And like I said, you've got, there's a 1-up just for kind of existing. More bombs on cars, as you do. Probably going to do some damage to the roof rack. I don't know if that's covered by the AA. I mean, it's a great start to an 8-bit platformer with ninjas in it. You know, jumping across cars on a highway while sugar glider ninjas, suicide bombers, and people with guns try and kill you. Look at that. Oh, I kind of cut that a bit too close. That was going to be really cool. So yeah, that's your first level, and it's over, just like that. And now we're at some buildings. We've made it to that town that was in the background. There's a great progression in terms of level design. You see that guy up there? He's chubby-cheeked in his red pants. And there's one down here, and he's got a hammer. He's bringing the hammer. His name's MC, and he has a hammer. We've got a bright pink building and a dull grey one. I imagine the people in the dull grey one are probably a little bit jealous. Here's 2 sugar glider ninjas, as I call them. And now they're 1. I like messing with their AI. I like games where you can mess with the AI. That guy managed to somehow hit me with his hammer. I don't know how that happened. And what's immediately great about this game is the sense of scope that they're trying to go for. It's like, okay, so you start off and you're on a highway and it's sort of action movie stuff, and that's brilliant. And then you're scaling the side of a couple of buildings to try and get to the roof. You don't really know why you're trying to get to the roof, but the game kind of signifies that you're trying to get to the roof. That is the way that you progress. And you're a shinobi with a sword on your back who keeps trying to get power-ups and ends up getting bombs instead. The story of this game, I'll fill you... Oh, right, we're about to get attacked by some dudes with bows and arrows. Don't worry. It's normal. Those things happen. I'll explain what those pickups are that I'm picking up shortly, once I've dealt with them. Yeah, so the story is there are 4 shinobi in this game, as opposed to it just being Joe by his lonesome. Joe has friends, and they are pink, yellow, blue, and green. That's in addition to you, obviously, so I guess there's 5 shinobi. But there's 4 that you need to rescue. Right, so now we're on top of a building. Over this way is the boss. We're not going to go there yet. We've got something we have to do. If you jump from this building to this crane here, and then pop this pickup, you get a GameCube. I don't know what else to describe it as. It's just a cube. It looks like maybe tofu. I don't know. And that extends your max health, which is important. Also, those bow and arrow dudes just disappear. And this is the boss. So, just to talk about the ramp up in scope, we've gone from tops of cars on a highway, scaling buildings in an urban environment, to top of a plane, fighting a helicopter while suicide bombers jump up the side. Yes. And this is my least favourite boss of the 4 that you will face. 5, I guess. Reason being, if you attack it and it goes through you, then you have iframes and you don't get hit by the helicopter. Sometimes if you attack it, it won't go through you. The iframes don't trigger, and it'll hit you anyway. Which means you can die to this even though you did everything right. But the tiny little one-person helicopter is now dead, and we've freed Pink, and then this is great. Jump just off the top of a plane. No big deal. So, like I said, there's it's the Mega Man style thing where you can go anywhere you want, but there is a recommended level of progression. We're going to go to the harbour next to get our friend Yellow back. And Pink, I'm going to prove to you, is one of the best characters in the game, because Pink has bombs. Pink just blows stuff up. Probably overcompensating for the fact that he's Pink. He is male, by the way. It's confirmed in the instruction manual for the game that Pink is in fact male. Pink also has some other skills. Well, one major other skill. Oh, and his bombs are brilliant because they're mostly one-hit KOs on pretty much everything. So, like, those hammer guys are done for. So we're climbing up the scaffolding in this harbour, and Pink gets to show off his other skill, clinging to the ceiling. That's a thing that he can do. I don't know why. Maybe he just thought, well, I need to develop something, otherwise everybody's just going to mock me for being pink the whole time. But as we all know, real men wear pink, so well done him for not giving in to, I don't know, toxic societal standards of masculinity or some nonsense. Over here, we have a guy in a green hood who was trained at the circus school for ninjas, who spits out fire. There's a lot of, like, aquatic ninja people hiding in shipping crates. This guy down here throws fireworks, which is rude, so we're going to throw some back. Good. And then you jump on a crane, go over the part of the harbour where they've just left it damaged. And this is great. The fact that, like, the background goes, you know, the sky darkens. Again, ramping up the tension and the scope. Because now you go to this, which is just a masterfully crafted piece of artistic design for an 8-bit handheld. You're on a boat trying to make your way into this ship, and it's thundering and lightning, and everything's gone terribly wrong, but you're fighting through it, picking stuff up. I'll explain those pickups later. You make your way through here, kill some of these aquatic ninja people, pick up more of those. Again, I'll get to that later. And then make your way inside the boat. Ship. Now, like I said, Pink can cling to the ceiling, which is important. Can't get his head past this stack of barrels. If he could, then this level would be incredibly short. But it does mean that he can walk straight over fat, purple tracksuit wearing Donkey Kong Man, which is good. More merman type people hiding in barrels. See this guy up here, clinging to the ceiling? If you just approach him normally, if you're not Pink, he starts throwing fireworks at you as well. But because you are Pink and you can cling to the ceiling, you can just bomb him in the face, which is nice. And again, because we're Pink, you can jump over, well, crawl over this unjumpable chasm, get yourself another GameCube. More health. And that's kind of really what gives you the recommended progression of the levels, is the skills of each of the people kind of determines which of the secrets and stuff you can pick up in each level and who you need for certain parts. And I realise I may have, possibly, I don't know what my audience is, I may have some younger viewers, people who have grown up with game FAQs and being able to just look up everything on the internet. Back in the day, oh, right, so, masterful piece of level design here. That's the entrance. The exit to the level is here. Cling to the ceiling, come on. But yeah, back in the day, we didn't have game FAQs. We had, if you were lucky, you'd buy magazines and they'd have a guide for the game that you were stuck on. Or if your parents were particularly lenient, or just didn't find out that you were doing it, you could ring an incredibly expensive hotline. And that's... I don't know how I discovered half of this stuff. I don't remember it, to be honest. Oh, right. So, in terms of ramping up, we've got a giant tank robot with a face and a massive spiky ball arm with a yellow ninja spitting out fireballs on top. How's that for you? That alright? That a good boss? I think that's a good boss. Giant tank robot with ridiculous face and ninja. And what you do with that is obviously you jump all over it and drop bombs. Like that. The bosses are particularly good for their design, but they're not very hard. Other than the helicopter, which is particularly badly designed because it's just a helicopter. And is kind of tricky because of the way that collision works. So now we've got yellow. I have to apologise for the noise you're about to hear. There's nothing I can do about it. You're just going to have to put up with it. This is it. Yeah. And the reason we're yellow here is because yellow is actually Jesus. Yellow can walk on water. If you did this with any of the other Shinobi, you'd just immediately die. So again, it's a case of you can do these levels with anybody you like, but you should probably do them in the order that they mean for you to do them in, because each of them has their own particular set of skills. As yellow, for example, we can kill this Amazon lady who's standing there in a bikini throwing, I don't know, sticks at people, and then get another GameCube, which is great. And there's like, you can, if you want, you can try and progress this way and, you know, go down there and fight these people and stuff. Or you can just do it the yellow way and just stand there and float. I don't know how yellow developed that ability. Pink managed to get, you know, climbing on the ceiling. Yellow apparently learned how to walk on water. And this takes you into a cave where you fight ninja puddles. And this aggravating guy, which makes this level my least favourite normal level of the game. You walk through this part, and for some reason there's a chain link fence that makes the entire screen go dark. Don't know why they put that in. This part's not particularly masterfully designed. This is the weak part of the normal game, because these enemies are just aggravating, and, you know, like I said, the screen keeps going dark. There's a dude there throwing fireworks at people, which is really rude. And a ninja puddle. A guy who just turns into a puddle. Right, so, you've seen me pick up those Japanese symbols. They're called techs, as in short for technology. And everybody's got one, and they all do different things. This is Joe's. Makes things break. Breaks rocks. And again, but only certain rocks, and it's something that there's no way you'd know that. Like, figuring that out is not something that you would reasonably do in the course of a normal playthrough. But, you know, for some reason I know that. I don't know whether I got it from a book or what, but it's something I just knew when I was a kid. Then again, as a kid I was better at video games. This guy's fun, because he stays as a puddle if you walk all over him. You can just get ninja on your shoes. And then just wait for him to pop up. And I think there's a firework guy there. Yes. Kill him. And again, I apologise for the noise. There's a right, so. Are you ready for the hardest boss in video game history? It's going to be beyond anything you've ever seen before in video games. It's seriously impossibly hard boss that you would have no way of being. Oh, it's dead. So this is what I mean. Like, the bosses are great in scope and spectacle. You know, like fighting a evil ninja on the side of a waterfall with crumbling platforms. It's brilliant. And then it's just kind of standard stuff. But now it means we can go to the woodland. Take note of that pagoda that's standing up in the middle there, because it sort of feeds into the excellent level design that this game has. Right, so This is Blue. Blue's thing is a grappling hook. And we're in the woodlands, we're approaching that pagoda, which is where we think Green's being held. And there are some purple, spiky ninja dudes. And the suicide bombers have decided that suicide bombing is not for them, and they're just going to climb up trees, throwing darts at people. I don't know particularly what their game is. They're not very good at it. But never mind. Oh, and there's also... You don't... Like, if there's a level that's designed for a specific ninja, you don't tend to swap too often. In the woodland level, you kind of do, though, which sort of gives credence to the idea that it's supposed to be one of the later levels you do. I do it because you've got the Silver Surfer down there, who's given up on the power cosmic and is now just throwing a saw blade at people. He's really easy to dispatch if you're pink. Right, so Blue has the grappling hook, and you see that knot in the tree there? Yeah! Grappling. And we got ourselves another GameCube. Marvellous. And again, I make it look easy until I fall off a thing several times. I did that on purpose just to show off more of this level. That's what it was. But this is all stuff that I learned over years and years and years of trying to beat this game, which was made more difficult by the fact that... Oh right, so now we're at the bottom of that pagoda from earlier. I don't know if it is a pagoda. I don't know if that's the right word. I don't know if a pagoda is something else. But you have to deal with Spinning Stick Sandalman. And another one of these spiky dudes, who become less of a threat when you're not trying to kill them with Yellow's bubble thing. But yes, it was slightly more difficult. Oh right, statues with laser beams coming out of their eyeballs. For me, because my Game Gear, I made the smart choice to not to buy a battery pack. Not a battery pack, an AC adapter. Just going to pause here to show you something really weird. If you try and kill that guy here as Blue, can't reach him, right? Try and kill him as Yellow, can't reach him. Pink, nah. For some reason, if you pick Red, good old Joe, and just one-shot him through the wall. Don't know why. Not particularly useful. It's not like those things are particularly dangerous. Yes, so I had an AC adapter. Problem was, it was broken. Oh right, you remember what I said about some later levels require you to switch, or at least easier if you switch. Pink's ceiling clinging is incredibly useful. And the reason that my AC adapter was broken was that the connector in the back would randomly just kind of, well, disconnect. Which was a bit of an issue. And because this game has no saving, I think maybe the reason I became so good at the starting parts, like this part, because there's like an entire other half of a game soon, which I'll show you, which I'm not such a big fan of. Every time it would disconnect, obviously the Game Gear would go off, and I'd have to start all over again. So maybe that's why I became so proficient at this, because I had to restart quite often because my AC adapter was broken. And it wouldn't just like go off, it'd sort of do that thing where it glitches horribly and makes some sort of nasty, terrible noise in my ears. And obviously I was wearing headphones, so it was sort of traumatizing. Right, so what you're supposed to do is go to the left and then up across the roof. We'll be going that way. You can also, if you're pink, just wander across there. But we're going to do it the proper way because I want to show you something. If you go up here, it's another example of things you would never be expected to know. But oh dear. Oh, that's gone badly wrong for me, hasn't it? Whoops. Oh well. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you just get knocked off. But thankfully, any enemies that you do kill stay dead, which is nice of them. Right, come on then. Here he comes to wreck the day. So yes, we're at the top of the pagoda now. And again, on the topic of things you wouldn't know, if you attack there, you get a 1-up for some reason. Down there is one of those tech things, but we'll leave that where it is. Right, so this is the boss. of the woodland level, and I hope you're watching it in 1080p, because you will notice it has a hideous moustache. And I think that's part of, you know, its allure as an evil boss thing, is its moustache and suggestive eyebrows. And that's green. It's not a hard boss. Right. There we go. Green is fine. Good. And now we're going to Neo City. So this is Neo City, and it's kind of a maze-like arrangement. It's our first introduction to Green, who, as you can see, can double jump and shoot shuriken, which is cool. And you'll notice the background is green, and that's because Neo City is designed for you to use all of the Shinobi that you've unlocked up to this point, which is obviously all of them, for various things. It's kind of a puzzle platformer now. There are no more enemies up until, you know, you take on bosses and things. And we're trying to go in this door here. And like I said, every room, most of the rooms have like 2 exits to them, and you have to kind of figure out what direction you want to do them in. It's just trial and error, and it's kind of horrible. And it's sort of a low point for what is otherwise an excellent game. But, you know, once you figured it all out, which takes some doing, and also some dexterity, it's not too bad. Like, you can kind of... But it stopped me from being able to complete this game for years. It was like... I'd do the first 4 levels, and I learned how to get quite good at the first 4 levels, and then I'd get to Neo City, and everything would just fall apart. Because there's no way of knowing where you're supposed to be going other than maybe making notes as you're going along. And like I said, back then we didn't have game FAQs or, you know, anything. You had to buy guides and stuff. But because it's a Game Gear game, there weren't that many people making guides for Game Gear games. And yeah, you redo all the bosses, you have like a boss rush thing. This robot's green now, because reasons. And thankfully, like I said, if the bosses were like a big deal, then this part would suck. Thankfully the bosses aren't that big a deal. So, well, I mean, you know, maybe they are. They are if you're not used to how to deal with them, I suppose. But from years and years and years and years and years of playing this game, I know how the bosses work. And this has got a yellow background because, you know, yellow's got the whole Jesus thing going. But again, it sort of takes you to rooms you've already done after this. So yeah, green, you mostly use green for his platforming ability. And again, on the topic of stuff that you just otherwise wouldn't know, this is how you do this. Like, so on the floor of this room is spikes. If you hit those spiked balls, that's an instant death. What you have to do is drop to your death, hit your tech as blue halfway down, and then tornado your way over here. And then you get to do the face boss again with his ridiculous moustache, which honestly should be illegal, which is great. I mean, the background's nice. It's kind of like you're fighting on a stage, you know, like a theatre stage, which I like. I like the idea that maybe they're putting on a play, and there's a lot of people, like their parents have come out for it especially, you know, made the long trip down from wherever it is they live, and then again. And applause. And like I said, it's a maze level, so you kind of have to redo stuff you've already done, which means it's, you know, incredibly fiddly, because you're just redoing things that you've done already. On the plus side, it does give you a opportunity to, you know, really figure out exactly what you're doing. Like, this is the, I suppose this is the equivalent of the disappearing block puzzles in Mega Man. And you kind of have to be a little bit on point with that. And then you're back in the laser room, of which there's a second exit, which we're going to be taking any second now. Nope, fell off there. That was bad. It's fine though, because you can kind of go over here. Oh no, not over here. I've totally played this before, guys, honestly. Over here. Get a 1-up. Although, I'll be honest with you. If you die, you're pretty much done. Like, you will notice I've not died, which is good. But it's good for, like, more reasons than, you know, the usual reasons why you'd want to not die. And the reason being, if you die, you lose all your techs. And in Neo City, you need your techs to survive. None more so than in this room here. The way that this room is supposed to work is, as green, you're supposed to double jump and try and shuriken the tops of these dudes. But there's an incredibly small window for you to do that. Like, they have the tiniest little hitbox at the top of their head, right? And not to mention, sometimes the screen doesn't scroll far enough for you to do it. So what I tend to do, and this is the reason why it's incredibly important that you don't die, because if you die here and lose all your techs, then you have to do it the hard way, is I pick blue, and then just turn into a tornado. Because, why not? And then there's like the top and the bottom doors. And again, this is just something that you just learn from doing it over and over and over again. This is an incredibly dangerous room. You have to be on point with your swinging. If you're not, then you'll die horribly. This room's not so bad. As you can see, the background's pink. So pick pink, cling to the ceiling there. Wait for that to go past. Die horribly. And then into here, and I think now we have... Yeah, this is the fight with the helicopter, which is the part where you can lose all your techs, because, as I may have mentioned when we were originally doing this boss fight, the iframes for this boss are incredibly picky. So you kind of have to be on point with it and know where it's coming from. Otherwise you could die, lose all your techs, and it makes the rest of the level incredibly hard. Speaking of techs, what you will notice now is that I have some. And I'm as red, and it's good because the background's red, so you know that's fine. Joe uses his ability. Fun fact for you. You see that block there that I scrolled the screen so that it didn't activate with the tech thing? If you blow that one up, you can't double jump up here. Which is like so specific a thing. And this is why techs are so important, because you need them for like puzzle solving and stuff. This room here is fun. There's going to be a lot of this, basically. I mean, you can kind of imagine the dexterity that you need to be able to pull this off. And this is not the only time that we'll be in this room. So, you know, get used to seeing Joe's face as he Hadokens the screen. And thankfully you can get the health back there a little bit. And then you drop down here. And if you've killed all of the bosses, which we haven't yet, then you can go to the right down here. We have to go to the left in order to do this, which is the boss fight with the ninja dude. You know, the incredibly hard boss fight? Well, no, it's a grey waterfall, and it's dead. This puts us back here, and now we have to redo this part, which is where the run can totally fall apart. And you can go down here if you really want to, and skip a lot of it. In a pink room with lasers on the floor. And the ceiling. Which is fun. And again, this is a reasonably good test of your dexterity. It's not too bad if you die here, because a lot of these rooms now that we're towards the end of the level, thankfully, have text in them, because it, you know, it appreciates that it's asking a lot of you to be able to have got this far. Which is nice of it, really. You don't want to get hit too much here. Well, you don't want to get hit too much anywhere, really, in a game. But and then you're back here, which is good, because you need to be. So you don't want to, like I said, you don't want to scroll the screen too far, but you want to be standing here. And you do that again. Pick green. I don't know whether you're supposed to do that. I see no other way of getting over here, you see. And it, like I said, it starts falling down in terms of design there, because there's no other way up to that part unless you don't break that bit. And then we're back in this room. I told you we were doing this room again. And this time, because we've now killed the robot, the helicopter, the ninja, and the face dude, we can now go to the right and hopefully move towards the end of Neo City, is the plan. And in the meantime, you just get to look at Joe's excellently pixelated face, which is nice. The graphics are very nice. I do enjoy... I think the graphics for an 8-bit handheld that was, you know, full colour, about the same power as a Master System. I think they did some pretty masterful work here. Ha! That's a clever pun. This never got a Master System port, and you'd think it had most definitely earned one. Right, now this is the part where... This is the part where the recording might go a bit funky. What there is here is a pink room with water that's rising from the floor. Okay? And I don't know whether you'll be able to see it because of the frame rate that it's running at, but we'll try. Pink's thing is a time stop, which is incredibly handy. And you have to do it to stop time. It also makes the water that's slowly rising, that, by the way, can kill you, stop trying to kill you. And it's why it's so important to have, like, the maximum amount of text, because you get to this part and it's, like, rising, and there aren't enough texts in the level for you to be able to do this properly. So it's kind of fiddly. And then here's another one that they've just sort of put in for some reason. It's like overkill on pink, really. But you can see how that would cause some serious damage to you if you weren't prepared for it. And then in this room, we've got some platforming. Kind of standard platforming, really. This is all Green gets to do, is just a lot of jumping. Now, this door that I'm stood in front of here, if we hadn't killed all 4 bosses, there'd be a big wall in front of this door, and you'd just kind of fall to the room that's below it, which takes you back into the kind of cycle of rooms that we were going through earlier. Thankfully, we've killed all the bosses, so now we can stand here. So you'll see from the background that this room is pink. You're supposed to do this with pink, with its time stop thing, because these robots explode. But because I like blue, and because I like being a tornado, and because I've got 8 techs because I haven't died, I'm just gonna tornado my way through it a lot. Like, they explode and, you know, it destroys the floor, and obviously that's bad. But you can just tornado your way through, and it's just the way that I prefer to do things. And then we have finally arrived at the final boss, who you have to do as Joe. And I've totally forgotten, because it's been a while since I made it to the final boss, so I've totally forgotten his patterns. Not to worry though, because I've got a bajillion lives and I no longer need any techs, so it doesn't matter too much. I can die here. And I think I will, because then I get full health and we can do this properly. So he's got a gun for some reason. I didn't realise ninjas use guns, but hey, whatever works, I guess. And it's another, like, the bosses aren't masterfully designed or anything. And then I think he starts pinking it, yeah. He's like, oh, well, Pink's pretty awesome. So I'm going to steal Pink's gimmick, and I'm just going to start dropping bombs at you. Which is aggravating. Eventually he'll stop, because I've beaten him up. But then the real boss fight begins. There goes the background that was made of something or other. And we've got a giant robot with a face in it. Which is a... kind of like Krang, I guess, from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And is actually easier, believe it or not, than the ninja that we just fought. Because it's got like these sort of waves that it shoots out. Oh, you don't really want to touch it. Oh, by the way, now it's dead. Like I said, bosses, not so great. Level design in the first 4 levels, absolutely impeccable. Level design in Neo City, nah. The music, awesome. The ending, awesome. Because there they go. All 4 of the Shinobi clan. 5 of the Shinobi clan. Neo City is blown up. And here's your credits. And you can enjoy the music and say thanks to the people that made the game. And enjoy some Shinobis running against the sunset. Which is a charming and fitting backdrop, I think. There's a sequel to this. It's imaginatively entitled The GG Shinobi 2, which I may play through at some point. It doesn't have the same... It's still a great game. It doesn't have the same profound effect on me that this game does. This game was a big part of my childhood. I think it deserves to stand up there with things like Ninja Gaiden, and the other Shinobi games. This is actually my favourite Shinobi game, including Revenge of Shinobi, and I really like the PS2 Shinobi game, as hard as it was, and it was a little bit janky. I really enjoyed Shinobi on the PS2, but this will forever be my favourite Shinobi game, and it's actually available if you want to play it for yourself. Get it on the 3DS Virtual Console, because it's well worth it. You could do a lot worse. And there's the end screen, which is the goal of every game made before.